Matt DiBenedetto rumors continue as he may in fact not be headed to AM Racing in 2024, and Chase Purdy will be driving for Spire Motorsports in the Truck Series in 2024. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got some NASCAR and motorsports stories discussed today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into those really quickly. Let's first go ahead and talk about Cale Yarborough, as unfortunately, as many of you know, on New Year's Eve, Cale Yarborough sadly passed away. Cale Yarborough is one of the greatest NASCAR drivers to ever live in this sport, and was not only a hero to many, but a legend to this sport. Cale Yarborough was an American hero, a badass to many, and it is a really sad day for the sport, and it's been really incredible to see the support sent to the Yarborough family. My prayers and condolences do go out to the Yarborough family during this given time. Cale Yarborough, absolute legend, and one of the 10 greatest NASCAR drivers to ever live in this sport. So thinking about the Yarborough family currently at this moment. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Atlanta Motor Speedway. As it was reported by jski.com that Atlanta Motor Speedway has begun work on the front gates. This is for the new fans that are coming into Atlanta Motor Speedway, and they're hoping to have this done by next month. Because remember, Atlanta will be the second race of the season this upcoming year, and they want to make some changes to the front gates for it appealing, considering that it's technically now a super speedway, and a lot of fans are going to be going Daytona 500 for the first time. They're probably also going to want to go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's very interesting and very welcoming to see that sign as well. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Claire B. Lang. As it was sadly confirmed on Wednesday that Claire B. Lang will no longer be at SiriusXM NASCAR Radio starting in 2024. Really unfortunate situation. Claire B. Lang has been one of the best people in this industry. Usually don't talk about a lot of industry personnel on this channel, but Claire B. Lang has brought in a lot of people into this sport. Her shows are really fun to listen to, and from what I hear, she is a very friendly person to talk to in the industry. So a really sad day to see that Claire B. Lang is no longer part of SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. I've listened to her shows quite a bit. They're really fun to listen to. It's just unfortunate to see that she is no longer working at SiriusXM. I really hope she does find somewhere to go in 2024, and she can continue her job in 2024. Really unfortunate and sad to see that she is no longer with them for 2024, no longer at SiriusXM. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about 2311 Racing. As 2311 Racing has officially built their headquarters and their new shop that they're building in Huntersville, North Carolina. Remember, it was put all the way back in 2021, and we talked about it on this channel about 3 years ago, that 2311 Racing had been planning to build a new shop and a new headquarters. They've also talked about wanting to expand their organization to a 4-car team by this point, maybe 2024 or 2025. But the headquarters does look really exciting. It's the same group that did go ahead and build up other certain things like the NASCAR production studio, the R&D center they've been building, among other things that they've been building around the area. In general, I think from what the images I saw last night, they look really awesome and really good. I'm glad to see 2311 Racing is building this up. And they probably be able to build some production stuff so that Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick can get better as well. Nonetheless, really exciting and awesome stuff. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Sonoma Raceway. As Sonoma Raceway has officially completed their RePAP. They completed it on January 1st or January 2nd of this year. Honestly, the RePAP looks absolutely incredible. I believe it's the first RePAP that Sonoma's had since either 2000 or 2001. In general, it looks really exciting. I really wish we were racing here in the spring, because it would look so much better racing here in the spring than racing at a different given amount of time. Nonetheless, I think it looks really awesome. And again, I love seeing the new track. It looks really incredible. Hopefully the racing can be really good. If IndyCar was racing here, they probably would crash a lot. But still, I think in general, this RePAP is really solid and really good, in my honest opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Brayton Laster. As it was announced, I believe, on Tuesday or Wednesday, that Brayton Laster will be joining Carroll Motorsports and ARCA at Daytona International Speedway. Brayton Laster will drive the number 91 car for this team, and he's teasing that he may have some Truck Series starts and some ARCA starts in 2024, but those are currently TBD or to be announced. Look, Braden Laster's someone that I have a lot of respect for. I've had really good interactions with him on social media in the past, and he's really popular on social media as well. He's also made a couple starts in ARCA last year in 2023 and has some really solid runs over the last couple of years. I think Braden is someone that's going to be really fun to watch at Daytona and throughout the next couple of years as well. So nonetheless, really excited and glad to see that he'll be joining Carroll Motorsports and glad to see he'll be running at Daytona International Speedway in the ARCA Series. And now we're going to hedge on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Michael Fischer. As it was reported by DobyChristie.com that Michael Fischer will spot for Michael McDowell in 2024. Michael Fischer had been working at RFK Racing as a spotter for road courses for both Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher over the course of the last 2 years. Now, why is this significant? Well, the big reason is because Clayton Hughes is not spotting for Michael McDowell in 2024. I wonder where he's going to be headed because Clayton Hughes, despite being one of the more annoying spotters in the industry, I still think he is one of the better spotters. He won a championship Mark Truex Jr. back in 2017. He also, I think, spotted for Michael McDowell when he won it at the Indy Road Course last year. I really hope we get to see Clayton Hughes continue spotting in 2024, but I don't know where at this point. Nonetheless, glad to see that Michael Fischer will be spotting for Michael in 2024. And now we're going to hedge on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about the Morning Consult. Now, there was a tweet that came out from the Morning Consult, an article that came out from this group talking about interest for sports when it comes to Gen Z. This is also the same group that talk about NASCAR gaining interest from people in Gen Z. And according to the Morning Consult, when it comes to Gen Z, according to them, 36% of the people identified as fan of NASCAR, whether it's casual or avid fan. It was ahead of, shockingly, Formula One. This is definitely a little bit of a surprise considering the fact that NASCAR has had a hard time getting a lot of the Gen Z fan base, but it's a really big surprise to see from this poll that NASCAR is growing in that Gen Z group. Considering NASCAR, like I said, is targeting that group, they're trying to get a lot of these younger fans into the sport. I think this is an absolutely huge positive for the sport to see that 36%. And you have to remember there's a Netflix documentary that's going to be coming out early this year talking about the playoffs, and I think that could attract a lot of people. It's going to be like Drive to Survive, and that might be able to find a way. And you also think about the new TV deal going to Amazon and, of course, the other streaming services. That will be able to grow, and also some of the other stuff that's involved with TNT and HBO Max as well. In general, I think it's really exciting to see this, and I do have a lot of optimism for the sport in certain areas, including the fact that a lot of people are identifying as fans in the Gen Z area. I think it's really exciting and really cool stuff, in my honest opinion. And now we're going to hedge on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Alpha Prime Racing. As Alpha Prime Racing announced, I believe 2 days ago, that they will have the number 45 car run part-time in 2024. Cesar Baccarello is one of the co-owners of the organization, will run at least 4 Super Speedway races in 2024, including at Daytona International Speedway. Obviously, the 45 car, like I mentioned, will not be full-time in the 2024 season, as they will have 2 full-time entries. We know that Ryan Ellis will be in the 43 car, and the 44 car will be driven by Brennan Poole. In general, when I look at this team and I look at what Alpha Prime's doing, I think it does make a lot of sense to focus on 2 full-time entries instead of focusing on 3. Now, there's other drivers who may make starts for this team. I don't think Roger Krupp is going to be one of those drivers, considering I think Rod is no longer at the team anymore. This could be a spot for Jeff Earnhardt to run maybe a select few starts in 2024, but because we don't know what he's doing for this season, though I think there's a chance he goes to another organization in 2024. Nonetheless, a very interesting move, and glad to see if they're at least going to run it part-time. At this point, they're not running this car full-time, but it's good to see they'll at least be running this car on a part-time basis in 2024. And now we're going to hedge on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Danica Patrick. As it was reported by Adam Stern, I believe on Tuesday or Monday, that Danica Patrick will be returning to Sky Sports F1 in 2024. This got a lot of uproar on social media when this was announced, and I completely understand why. Look, Danica Patrick is obviously one of the more controversial figures because of her political views, among other things. But Danica Patrick is also someone that a lot of people feel like she shouldn't be on the Sky Sports F1 team. Because let's be honest, 1, she never competed in Formula 1. And 2, She wasn't a great NASCAR driver either. Yes, she was solid in IndyCar, but outside of that, what did she really accomplish in any other form of racing? In general, a lot of people feel like that she shouldn't be on the F1 team, and there should be someone else that is taking her place. I just don't understand why she's back. A lot of people feel like she doesn't deserve to be there, and I completely agree. She doesn't bring a lot of insight. I feel bad for Jenson Button because he's going to have to deal with her again. I wouldn't be surprised if Jenson says, hey, I don't want to be here because of Danica. So in general, I just saw that. I'm like, why is she back? She doesn't deserve to be back, in my opinion, because she doesn't bring a lot of insight to the stuff, in my honest opinion. But you can disagree with me if you want to, but in my opinion, she should not be there at all with Sky Sports in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Trey Poole. As it was announced, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday that Trey Poole will, in fact, spot for Chase Elliott in 2024. Trey Poole, for those who don't know, is Chase Elliott's cousin, and Trey has actually spotted for Chase Elliott in the past. You go back to 2001 when Trey Poole spotted in place for Eddie DeHaan, and Trey Poole also does spot for Chase Elliott on the road courses. So Chase does have some experience working with Trey Poole. A lot of people wonder where Eddie DeHaan's going. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but it was confirmed a few weeks ago that Eddie DeHaan will be working with Josh Berry in 2024. As for Trey Poole, he's got a lot of veteran experience. I think he's a solid spotter, and I think he will, in general, do a really good job helping Chase Elliott in 2024, considering, like I said, they both have worked together, and they've worked together very, very well. I think, in general, this is a very, very good move, and I'm glad to see that Trey Poole's getting the opportunity chance to work with Chase Elliott in the 2024 season. I just hope the Chase Elliott fans, like myself, don't have to blame Trey Poole because people blame Alan Gustafson last year, and Alan Gustafson wasn't the reason Chase Elliott missed the postseason. So we'll see what happens, how things end up going through. But Trey Poole, for the first time, will be a full-time spotter in 2024, which, in general, I think is a really good move overall. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Josh Bilicki. As it was announced yesterday that Josh Bilicki will be joining DGM Racing on a part-time basis in 2024, driving the number 92 car. He'll run at Daytona National Speedway, and the other races are to be determined. But I would expect, more than likely, that Josh Bilicki will be in the 92 car for all the road course races and probably some other races throughout the 2024 season. Look, Josh Bilicki is a very, very solid driver, in my opinion. He's made some starts in the Cup Series last year with CLAB Motorsports and also has ran with DGM Racing in the past. So they're going back to someone who has a lot of veteran experience with the team. And it doesn't surprise or shock me to see that Josh is going to get the opportunity and chance to drive for this team in 2024. I expect Josh Bilicki at the road courses to be solid. And DGM Racing in general is building up a really solid organization. You obviously got Kyle Weatherman, who's going full-time with this team. And there could be other drivers that we don't know at this point who could join this team in 2024. Nonetheless, I'm really excited about this, and I'm very happy to see that Josh Bilicki is with DGM. I know some people thought maybe Matt DiBenedetto was going to go here like myself, but Matty D's not going here in 2024. We'll talk about Matt DiBenedetto here in just a little bit. But we know as of now that Josh Bilicki is joining DGM, and honestly, I think this is a good move to have someone who's been with the team before drive for this team this upcoming season. I do agree. I think it's in general a really good move to see him getting the chance to work with them again in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Josh Williams. As it was announced on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day that Josh Williams will in fact spot for Zane Smith in 2024 at Spire Motorsports and Trackhouse Racing. This has been expected for a very long time. Josh Williams has worked with Zane Smith in the past in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but also was confirmed a few months ago that Josh Williams was in fact going to be leaving Ryan Blaney at the end of 2023 after, of course, winning the championship with Ryan Blaney in the Cup Series. Josh will now work with Zane Smith, who he's worked with over the course of the last 2 years. It was also confirmed that Tyler Green will be spotting for Carson Hocevar in 2024, leaving Harrison Burton, as Tyler Green had to work with Carson Hocevar in the Truck Series, and TJ Bell will be spotting in 2024 for Corey LaJoie. It was also confirmed that Jason Jarrett will be spotting in 2024 for Harrison Burton. Going back to Josh Williams, obviously there's been a lot of spotter movement this year. There's a lot of spotter silly season to be exact. But Josh Williams is a really good spotter in my opinion. Like I said, he just won the championship with Ryan Blaney in 2023. And in general, I think Josh Williams is going to be able to bring a lot of insight over to this team when it comes to their spotter game. Because spotters are getting paid a lot more. That's why I've seen a lot of movement, because spotters, like I said, are getting paid a lot more. Considering now there's 6 Super Speedway races and there's 2 Super Speedway races in the playoffs. And the first 2 races of the season are Super Speedway races with Daytona and then Atlanta Motor Speedway. Nonetheless, I think this is a good move, and I'm glad to see that he will get an opportunity to work with Zane Smith like he's been doing the last couple years in the Craftsman Truck Series. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Lawless Alan. As it was announced yesterday that Lawless Alan will not return to Nice Motorsports in 2024. The team confirmed that the number 45 truck will be full-time in 2024, with a driver to be announced here in the not-so-distant future. We'll talk about some potential candidates who could drive the 45 truck in here in just a second, but let's talk about Lawless Alan. Look, Lawless Alan has been in the truck series for the last couple years with Nice Motorsports, and I'm not surprised to see him not returning with the team. And here's why I'm not shocked or surprised. Look, Lawless Alan was only in that number 45 truck because he brought sponsorship and funding. If you want my opinion on Lawless Alan, I don't think Lawless Alan is that good of a driver. He didn't even get a top 10 finish in the number 45 truck, and his most notable thing that he did in the truck series was get into a feud with Hailie Deegan multiple different times. Lawless got in the feud. He blamed her for a lot of things, so there were times where Lawless Alan was at fault, and he caused her to wreck a couple times as well. And then, of course, we go back to Martinsville last year in 2022, where he just ran through her in 2022 at Martinsville. And he just has gotten in a lot of trouble with a lot of other different drivers, and he just seems like a wrecking chicane and had a lot of DNS with Nice Motorsports. So it doesn't surprise me to see that Lawless is not going to be in the seat in 2024, because I don't think he deserves to be in the seat. He did nothing last year. He hasn't really accomplished anything, and I don't care what anybody says. Carson Osbar got 4 wins. Bailey Curry was more competitive, and even other drivers like SVG showed a lot more in one start than Lawless Alan has really done in 3 years in the truck series. I'm wishing Lawless the best of luck, but honestly, I don't know where he's going to be going in 2024. Now let's talk about who I think will go to the 45 seat. There are some candidates out there. You do have Roger Kroof, we'll talk about here in just a second. He could be someone to watch out for who could get the seat. Matt DiBenedetto could be a candidate for the seat as well. Solid organization to build around. You've also got like Jeff Earnhardt could be available, and some people from the Chevy camp like Luke Fenhouse, who could be someone to watch out for. But at this point, I don't really know who's going to get the seat in 2024. So we'll see what happens nonetheless in regards to Lawless Alan's future, but we know right now that he will not be returning to Nice Motorsports in 2024, and a lot of people should not be surprised by this, considering Lawless Alan did not really do much in the NASCAR Truck Series with Nice Motorsports. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Young's Motorsports. As it was announced a couple days ago that Young's Motorsports will field an Xfinity Series team in 2024. Leland Honeyman Jr., who's been driving for Alpha Prime Racing selectively in 2023, and also has made select starts with Young's Motorsports in the ARCA East and main ARCA Series, well, will be the driver for this team, and the number is going to be 42, and Andrew Abbott will be the crew chief for this team in 2024. A very surprising, very interesting move. There were rumors about a year or two ago that Young's Motorsports is thinking about moving up to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but it's really cool to see another organization who's been in the truck series for a very, very long time, who's been kind of building up their program over the last 10 years, will get the opportunity to finally move up. Look, is Young's Motorsports the fastest organization in the world? No, absolutely not. They've kind of struggled in the truck series to even make races at points throughout the year with guys like Spencer Boyd. But when I look at Young's Motorsports, I think that they are making overall a good move to move up to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. It doesn't surprise or shock me, but I think long-term, Young's is one of those organizations that does want to eventually go to the NASCAR Cup Series. And you got a young hotshot driver like Leland Honeyman Jr., who I'm really high on. I think Leland is a very talented driver. He finished third, I believe, in the ARCA East Championship last season, and also made some select starts in Xfinity. It did okay. He didn't do absolutely amazing, but I think he does bring some talent, because Alpha Prime Racing kind of struggled, and that's why they're scaling back one of their cars for 2024. In general, I think this is a great move to see a team like Young's getting the opportunity to finally move up in the 2024 season. And I think in general, they are going to run pretty good and pretty well this upcoming season. So we'll see what they end up doing. I'm really excited to see a new organization in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and I hope they can perform in 2024, because like I said, I think they're going to have the capabilities and possibilities to contend in the 2024 season. I don't think they're going to be a playoff contender, but I think they will have an opportunity to be solid in 2024. So we'll see how they end up doing, but glad to see Young's Motorsports moving up to Xfinity in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about the Daytona 500 schedule. As the Daytona 500 schedule has finally been revealed, and there's been a lot of talk about before Daytona 500 qualifying, as there will be no practice before Daytona 500 qualifying for the second year in a row. Yeah, you heard that right. There is going to be no practice for Daytona 500 qualifying. Look, man, I'm just going to come on and say this. Look, I understand that a lot of people probably are not going to care about the situation, but I do, and here's why. There's a couple reasons why. One, there should be at least a 30 to 45-minute practice session before they start the Daytona 500 qualifying, and here's why. One, a lot of there was issues last year during Daytona 500 qualifying. You had Chandler Smith, who had issues getting up to speed and didn't make the Daytona 500 when that is a team that probably should have made it. And the Money team had issues during their qualifying session as well. And they probably would have had a chance to make it a lot easier and would have had to go through the duels had they had a little bit of warm-up to make sure some of the issues were not kinked out. Also, number two, we are killing Daytona 500 speedways as we know it. And if you have more content to talk about, because if you have Daytona 500 practice before the qualifying session happens, you're going to have an opportunity to have a lot more storylines built up around the Daytona 500. NASCAR, in my opinion, probably thinks that the biggest event every year is the championship race, despite the fact the championship race is one of the most low-viewed races and has been losing ratings on a year-by-year basis. I know the Daytona 500 has been losing its TV ratings too, but if you want my honest opinion, Daytona 500 qualifying should have a little practice before that so these teams can be up to snuff and up to par. I just don't understand what NASCAR is doing here on trying to cut the Daytona 500 down. I feel like they're cutting it down more and more. There's no more preseason thunder, which that used to be a thing that NASCAR used to do. And there's a lot more than NASCAR used to do surrounding this event. I just don't understand what we're doing here as a sport. I think this in general is a really questionable move on NASCAR's part at best, and they should, in my honest opinion, be having at least some sort of practice session to make sure everything is up to snuff and up to par. I really hope this thing changes after 2024, but I don't know if NASCAR is going to do it. I think that they're going to continue doing the same things they're doing. Honestly, I don't agree with it, and I'm not a fan of them cutting off stuff for the Daytona 500 simply because of the fact that they want to save these teams money. They keep saying they want to save these teams money, but the teams are spending money on big infrastructure and complexes like 23XI Racing is. I mean, I remember Bubba Wallace saying last year in the Daytona 500 qualifying that we looked like running a clown show, and he was absolutely right. It looked like a complete clown show. It looked like we didn't know what we were doing as an industry, and it just looked like we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't look like professionals. So there needs to be some sort of practice session at some point for the Daytona 500 next year. I know they're not doing it this year, but that's got to change going into 2024, in my honest opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Roger Cruve. Now, a couple days ago, Roger Cruve put out on Twitter what looks to be him teasing his 2024 plans. If you look at the tweet, it looks like Roger Cruve more than likely back in the Truck Series in 2024. Roger Cruve is one of the biggest free agents that remains, but we kind of know at this point that Roger Cruve has been kind of teasing his 2024 plans, but there's been a lot of speculation, and Bob Poggers even reported on this back in November, that Roger Cruve more than likely was going to be back in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2024. Now, if he is returning to the Truck Series, which it sounds like it most likely will happen, where will he head in 2024? Well, there are a couple organizations that he could go to. The first one I mentioned earlier is Nice Motorsports. With it being confirmed that Lawless Allen will not be back at that team in 2024, the 45 truck could be available. Nice Motorsports organization that's been building up, and they're going to have a really solid lineup in 2024 with Bailey Curry in the 41 and Matt Mills taking over for Carson Ospar. Of course, Carson Ospar moves up to the NASCAR Cup Series in 2024. The 45 truck would be a really solid organization, and I think it would be a really good ride for Roger Cruve if he went there. Another big team, though, that I think more than likely will be the team he goes to is Spire Motorsports. The number 7 truck is still available going to 2024. We'll talk about one of the drivers from Spire here in just a little bit. But Spire Motorsports, the team that a lot of people think is where Raja could go to, considering Raja has made a start with Spire Motorsports in the truck series in the past. A couple starts. As a matter of fact, I think got a top 10 with this team in 2022. And some have been speculating that this is the team, more than likely, if Raja goes back to the truck series, to the team that Raja may end up going to in 2024. And Spire is, of course, going to be getting all the stuff from Kyle Busch Motorsports, and they're building up their organization currently at the moment. So we'll see what ends up happening in regards to Raja's going. If you want my early prediction, though, on where I think Raja Crew will be going in 2024, more than likely, I think that he will be with Spire Motorsports in the 7 truck. That's just my prediction currently. I think Spire will have 4 trucks in 2024, and I think this is the team most likely Roger's going to end up going to. And if he goes to Spire, which it sounds like there's a good chance it could happen, he'll get help from Kyle Busch, because Kyle Busch is going to be consulting with that team, trying to build that program up and help them up, considering Kyle Busch owned this equipment before. He'll be trying to help them out. I think this is the team most likely Raja goes to. I know some people think he may go to Xfinity and drive a 17 car for Hendrick, and that could be an option part-time, but at least for the Cup, for full-time, I think it will be with Spire Motorsports in 2024. That's my early prediction currently at this particular moment. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Shane Van Gisbergen. As it was confirmed about a Monday or Tuesday that Shane Van Gisbergen will officially make his ARCA debut at Daytona International Speedway, driving for Pinnacle Racing Group. It's not confirmed what number he'll drive, but most likely the number he's going to drive is a number 28 car. And this also confirms that Shane Van Gisbergen will be running a doubleheader, as SVG will be running the Xfinity Series race as well. Remember, he is required to run this ARCA race if he wants to run full-time in Xfinity Series, because he has not made a Super Speedway start, and most drivers are required to make a start. The reason a lot of people are questioning this move, though, from the first place, is because of the fact that we had drivers like Connor Daly who got to make start Daytona 500 run despite not having a Super Speedway start in the past. But I think a big reason why he got the opportunity to do that is because he had made starts at Las Vegas in the Truck Series, and SVG has made starts at ovals, but that was at a short track and not a bigger oval. Look, SVG, I think, will be very, very competitive. Just hope he doesn't end up crashing out. He's going to learn what ARCA brakes are. And you look at a team he's running for. Pinnacle Racing Group is like the big Chevy team in ARCA right now, and they've been really competitive. You look at drivers like Connor Zilch, who nearly won. Luke Fenhouse got a win with this team in the ARCA race, I think, at Iowa Speedway. And he's very, very fast and very, very competitive. And his team is always really strong. And they're going to be getting a lot of support from Trackhouse Racing as well. And it's another start for SVG, and it'll be good experience for him. Hey, he'll be getting more practice than most drivers, considering the fact he'll get 2 Super Speedway races to run on the same day. I think that SVG will be very, very competitive, and honestly would not surprise or shock me if he does, in fact, go on and win in general this race, because I think he's going to have a good chance to win, honestly. This is a really good team, and again, the ARCA field, there's been a lot of names that continue to be announced. There might be some NASCAR drivers who are going to run. I think Tanner Gray is supposed to run the ARCA race in place 4, if I'm not mistaken, I think in place for William Sawalch for Joe Gibbs Racing, because William's going to run a majority of races with JGR in ARCA. I think this is a great move. Well, I don't know if it's a great move to see him back, but in general, I'm glad to see that SVG will get to run the ARCA race. I just hope he doesn't crash out, and I hope he gets to learn a lot of experience for 2024. So we'll see what happens, but glad to see that Shane Van Gisbergen will get to make his ARCA Series debut at Daytona International Speedway. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Cas Grala. As Cas Grala put out a tweet, I believe on New Year's Day, teasing his 2024 plans, thanking Sam Hunt Racing for everything they did for him in 2023, having a solid year with that team, and saying, where do you think I'm going in 2024? Because I'm very excited about it. Now, if you haven't paid attention over the course of the last few weeks, you probably already know where a lot of people are speculating that Cas Grala is going to in 2024. The team that many have begun to speculate that he may be headed to in 2024 and is supported by Seriously Fast Motorsports is Rick Ware Racing and that number 15 car. Look, Cas Grala does have a little bit of sponsorship funding from companies like Island, and also I think that Rick Ware is trying to build up that program. We already know that Justin Haley is going to be full-time with Rick Ware. I know the number was not officially confirmed on the number that Justin Haley is going to run in 2024. More than likely, Justin Haley is going to be in the number 51 car because they didn't revoke the 51 charter, and some believe that Justin Haley will be in the number 51 car in 2024. Now, obviously, RFK is making a lot of big moves as well, and Rick Ware is expected to show a lot of improvement throughout 2024. Now, if Cas Grala does go to this team in 2024, this will be the first time that Cas has been in the Cup Series, I believe, since 2022 when he drove for the Money Team. But this would be a really kind of an obscure move considering Cas Grala has only made a few select starts in Cup. He drove the number 3 car, of course, for RCR in place for Ty Dillon as a substitution driver. Not Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, as substitution driver when Austin Dillon unfortunately had COVID. And he actually led laps in his debut, which very few drivers have done in their debut, and was able to go out and basically finish in the top 10 in his debut, which is really, really impressive. I think if Cas Grala goes to Rick Ware, I think there are going to definitely be some struggles for sure. Not because I don't think Cas Grala is a good driver. I think Cas is a very talented driver. But you have to look at the team himself. Despite the fact I think that Rick Ware is going to show improvement in 2024 with that RFK alliance, I still think Cas Grala overall is going to be someone that is going to have a little bit of learning curve because he's going to be behind a lot of drivers because these drivers now have 2 years of next-gen experience, and I think that he'll be relying a lot on Justin Haley. But you also remember this too, Cas Grala is 25 years old or 24? He's still a relatively young driver and has been only in the series, despite being in the series for nearly 6 or 7 years up to this point. Cas Grala is still a really young driver who can definitely learn a lot for sure. He's got 10 to 15 years left of his NASCAR career at least ahead of him, and I think he'll be very, very solid if he does in fact go to the organization that he does end up going to. So we'll see what happens with Cas Grala and where he ends up going to, but a lot of speculation currently at the moment right now at this particular moment is that Cas Grala more than likely will be headed over to Rick Ware Racing in the Cup Series in 2024. If not, I don't know where Cas Grala will be headed in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode as we're talking about Chase Purdy. As it was announced on Wednesday that Chase Purdy will in fact be joining Spire Motorsports in 2024, driving the number 77 truck. His crew chief is going to be Jason Trinchero. We'll talk about Jason Trinchero here in just a second, but let's talk about Chase Purdy for a second. Chase Purdy, remember, had signed a contract extension with Kyle Busch Motorsports last year around the Michigan weekend, but the contract that he had with KBM has moved into the Spire Motorsports group. This has been expected to Chase Purdy more than likely was going to be joining Spire Motorsports in 2024, but I'm very glad to see that it has finally been confirmed. Chase Purdy is a very interesting driver. He actually had a really decent year in the Truck Series. I was questioning him going to KBM in the first place for 2023, but I know he didn't make the playoffs in 2023, which is really disappointing, and his aligned driver teammate Nick Sanchez was able to make it, but Chase Purdy did not have an awful year. He finished 11th in the standings. He actually got a couple poles throughout the season and had a couple really good runs. I go back to that Texas race, the crash fest that happened, where he ended up finishing second, ran top 10 a majority of the day there, and had a couple top 5 runs and nearly won the Phoenix Championship race as well. Had one of the best trucks in the field there, which has been really cool to see KBM get it done. This is going to be a really awesome opportunity for him because Spire Motorsports, I know they're investing a lot in their program, and I think Chase Purdy does have an overall good opportunity and a really good chance to be competitive. We'll get the expectations of what I expect from him in 2024, but let's talk about his crew chief, Jason Trinchero. For those who don't know, Jason Trinchero had been AJ Allmendinger's crew chief in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2022 and 2021. And I believe in 2021, Trinchero and Allmendinger were able to win, 6 races in the Xfinity Series in 2021, and they won the regular season championship as well. Despite not winning the championship, Jason is a very, very good crew chief, and Jason is going to be someone who, as his experience now, is going to be able to help out a driver like Chase Purdy going into the 2024 season. Really help him build him up in 2024 and really build his confidence as well as a race car driver. As for expectations for Chase Purdy going into 2024, if you want my honest and realistic expectations, I think Chase Purdy will have a solid year. I think he does have a really good chance to make the postseason in 2024. I think he's going to be one of those drivers that's kind of on the cutoff line of making the postseason and not making the postseason, because despite the fact that drivers like Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith are not going to be in the Truck Series, and maybe also Matt DiBenedetto as well, I think you have new guys coming in. You've got Lane Race going to Firmer Motorsports, taking over. Lane, in my opinion, is someone who I think is going to have a breakout season potentially in the Truck Series this year. You've also got Ty Dillon moving back to the Truck Series full-time. And Ty Dillon, despite the fact that Ty struggled in the Cup Series, he was a really solid driver in the Truck Series back in the day. And I think Ty Dillon will help Rackley and try to build that program up going into 2024. You've also got other drivers potentially moving in. You've got Corey Heim, who's going to be a championship threat. You got Christian Eck, who's going to be a threat. And you got Nick Sanchez, who I think is another driver who could be a potential breakout star in 2024. In general, I think Chase Purdy is going to be someone to watch out for. I think he's got a really good chance to make the playoffs. And I think he does have a solid opportunity and a solid chance to get his first career Truck Series win as well. He's been in trucks for a long time, despite the fact that Chase Purdy is still, 26 or 27, I think. He's still a very relatively young driver. He's been in NASCAR for near almost a decade at this point, and I want to see some improvement Chase going into 2024. Luckily for him, I think Spire will do their best to get this team up to snuff, and I think Chase Purdy does have a chance to win, but I am glad to see at least he will have somewhere to go in 2024. So glad to see Chase Purdy sign for 2024, and hopefully Chase Purdy can, in fact, have a really strong and really good year in the 2024 NASCAR Truck Series season. And again, there's less competition, but there's also good competition coming to play some of those drivers in 2024. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the final major story of today's episode as we're talking about Matt DiBenedetto. Now, I've talked about Matt DiBenedetto a lot on this channel over the course of the last couple weeks. There's been a lot of speculation on where Matt DiBenedetto is going to be going in 2024. Back on December 27th, Matt DiBenedetto put out a tweet showing the pen emoji, showing that he had signed something for 2024. The day after that, Private Porno on Twitter put out a tweet saying that they had heard that Matt DiBenedetto may be headed to AM Racing in 2024. A couple days ago, however, Bob Poggers put out a tweet saying that the 15 and 16 cars could still be available for 2024, but he doubts the rumors have been going around about Matt DiBenedetto going to AM Racing. So it sounds like the Matt DiBenedetto may not, in fact, be headed to AM Racing. It's not confirmed he's not headed to AM Racing, but he may not be headed to AM Racing in 2024. Now, obviously, Matt DiBenedetto is not going back to Rackley War Racing in 2024, considering the fact that Ty Dillon has taken over that seat in 2024. Look, let's talk about Matt DiBenedetto for a second. I think Matt DiBenedetto is a very talented and a really, really good driver. But Matt DiBenedetto has burned bridges with multiple organizations and multiple different teams. He burned bridges with Rackley. He's not going back there in 2024. And he's also burned bridges with other organizations. So I do believe that he should have finished the season with Rackley War Racing. I don't know why Rackley kicked him out as early as they did, considering he got the team to the playoffs. But when you look at Matt DiBenedetto's talent, he's not a Kyle Larson level talent, a Kyle Busch level talent, like a Bubba Wallace level talent, maybe on that same level as Bubba Wallace when it comes to talent-wise. But he's a good driver, in my opinion. And I think he deserves to be in NASCAR in some shape or form. I'm not saying he deserves like a top-tier ride, but he should be racing at least in solid equipment. And here's why. Matt DiBenedetto got to the playoffs with the Wood Brothers in 2020. You don't compete for wins against Denny Hamlin unless you don't have talent. Remember that race in 2019 at Bristol where he almost beat Denny Hamlin and would have won if he didn't get damage from Ryan Newman? Yeah, he nearly won that race. He almost won multiple racing cup. You got a couple runner-up finishes, and you look at the guy that replaced him, Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton, I'm sorry, really hasn't done much. I'm not a hater of Harrison Burton or anything. I just don't think Harrison Burton's done much in that equipment. He's a driver who really needs to step up in 2024. But as in regards to DiBenedetto, he also got Rackley to the playoffs in 2023. So I really hope that he gets to go somewhere. Nearly, by the way, knocked Ben Rhodes out of the championship. Ben Rhodes almost didn't make the round of 8 and nearly got knocked out. The champion, who got eventually won the championship, nearly got locked out. I'm not saying he's like an amazing driver by any stretch. He's a good driver, though, and deserves to be in the series in 2024. So let's talk about where he could go. Again, AM Racing is still an option for 2024. If he does go to AM Racing, he would be teammates with Hailie Deegan. Hailie Deegan, of course, will be driving the number 15 car full-time in 2024. We know AM expanded 2 cars. But if you want my opinion, I think Brett Moffitt is a better driver, so I really hope Brett does kind of stay with that program. But if not, Matt DiBenedetto would be a great driver to be a good teammate of Haley D, and apparently they're good friends, what people have said. So Matt DiBenedetto going to AM would be a solid move, and if they were to get him, he would do a great job with the team. But if he doesn't go there, what rides can Matt DiBenedetto go to? Because rides are clearing up really quickly. We all thought maybe he would go to a team like DGM, but that is kind of dried up because we know Josh Blickey is going to be in the 92 car part-time next year. He could go there part-time. That is an option for sure. But I don't know if he's going to go there in 2024. There's also maybe a chance he goes back to trucks and works with Nice Motorsports. That is an option as well. But Nice Motorsports, in my opinion, they probably don't know if they want to work with Matt DiBenedetto because he probably needs sponsorship funding. And they kicked out a guy who just brought funding, so that could be right where he's going to. But I don't know if he's going there in 2024. I don't know if that's going to be an option for him. You've also got other organizations. You've got teams like Tory Racing haven't announced anything, but I think they're looking for someone who brings sponsorship funding to the table. And unfortunately, like I mentioned, Matt DiBenedetto doesn't bring a lot of that sponsorship and funding. There's also Sam Hunt Racing, the Xfinity Series, another team I'll mention here. That would be a good team to go to and a team that I would not be surprised to see him go to in 2024 because Sam Hunt Racing, they're building up their program, and Matt DiBenedetto could be someone that could go into the Toyota stable and really help out that program. And I don't know if he's burned bridges with TRD. I know he kind of burned bridges with some of the organizations at TRD, but I don't think he burned his bridge with TRD, so he could go back to Sam Hunt Racing and really build that program up. In general, I really hope Matt DiBenedetto does end up finding somewhere to go for 2024. Because like I said, Matt DiBenedetto is a good enough driver to be racing in NASCAR currently at the moment. And it's a shame to see him not go anywhere. If I look at the Cup Series, though, there is a 15 and 16. Rick Ware 15 car could be available. But the number 15 car right now, that's probably going to Cas Grala, or we'll go someone part-time. And Ford, I don't know, really wants to work with Matt DiBenedetto. And then you got 16 for Colleague. That could be a potential possibility for him to go there part-time in 2024. We know the Allmendinger's going there at least part-time in the Cup Series. We're on the super speedways and the road courses. I think Matt DiBenedetto would do a good job with Colleague, but he's going to need sponsorship funding if he wants to go there. But like I just said a second ago, I hope the guy gets to race in 2024 in NASCAR. It sounds like he is going to race in NASCAR this year, but the question is where. I really hope he has somewhere really strong to go to in 2024 and can be competitive where he goes. It sounds like maybe not with AM Racing for 2024, but hopefully Matt DiBenedetto does in fact end up finding somewhere to go in 2024 because he does deserve to be in NASCAR in the 2024 season. We'll see what happens. We'll hopefully he'll have somewhere to go in 2024, and we'll find out that hopefully soon before the end of the season. The reason we're talking about this is because of the fact the Truck Series opener is like 6 weeks away, and the Daytona 500 is about 6 weeks away from now. So hopefully we'll find out where Matty D's going in 2024 here really soon. So that has been today's NASCAR news and motorsports news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Notifications on so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support on Patreon as well. Links description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. Where do you think Matt DiBenedetto is going in 2024? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if he doesn't go to AM Racing. And where do you think certain other drivers are going to do like Chase Purdy in 2024? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I think there's only going to be the only videos dropping on the channel today. Tomorrow on the channel, there's going to potentially be 2 videos on the channel, and I'm going to be recording here soon. And Sunday will be 1 or 2 videos dropping on the channel, and Monday there'll be something else special dropping on the channel. Got a lot of great content dropping on the channel that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.